Decades after they ended, the 1980s continued to dominate the popular culture. Movies, music, manga, video games, fashion, television. The 80s are constantly being rediscovered. Why do we keep returning to this decade? At first, the answer seems obvious. People are nostalgic. They miss their childhood. They miss the music, the movies, the fashion. But nostalgia alone cannot explain it. Every generation becomes nostalgic. Yet few decades continue to dominate the imagination the way the 1980s do. The 1980s occupied a unique place in history, a liminal place between two worlds, old enough to feel tangible, modern enough to feel familiar. People still used physical maps, physical photographs, arcades, video stores, cassette and VHS tapes. The world felt mechanical. Yet the digital age was arriving. Personal computers were entering homes. Video games were becoming mainstream. The internet was over the horizon. It felt like the future could be seen, but it had not yet arrived. Every year seemed to bring something new: space shuttles, satellite television, consumer electronics. Tomorrow felt larger than today. History seemed to be moving somewhere. It felt exciting. The decade was obsessed with tomorrow, not a distant future, one around the corner. Moon bases, space stations, the possibility of flying cars, robots, artificial intelligence, missions to Mars. Many of these predictions never arrived, or came in manners not expected. But the optimism was real. People believed extraordinary things were possible. The 80s imagined technology as something physical: buttons, switches, control panels. The future was tangible, analog. You could climb into it, drive it, pilot it, fight it. Physical beings understand physical things. So when people imagined a digital future, they imagined it through machines they could touch. In reality, the digital revolution turned out differently. The more advanced technology became, the less visible it became. Today, much of our world exists behind screens, software, algorithms, invisible networks. The future arrived, but it became harder to touch. The decade was filled with adventure: archaeologists, pilots, explorers, treasure hunters, movie makers, space travelers. The frontier spirit was everywhere. Adventure stories dominated popular culture. The settings changed, the archetypes remained. Many of the stories that define modern culture emerged during this era. Star Wars, Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, Aliens, Terminator, Transformers. These stories shared something important: an optimistic view on humanity. They looked forward toward discovery, toward possibility. Even when they were dark, they were fascinated by what might come next. The movies themselves reflected this mindset: real models and miniatures, animatronics and practical effects, physical sets. Objects had weight, and creatures occupied space. It felt real because it was. It was one of the last eras of shared culture. Millions of people watched the same movies and played the same games. They collected the same toys and quoted the same lines. Today, much of culture is fragmented or polarized. The internet has given everyone their niche or team. The 80s created a common mythology, a generation of stories that almost everyone recognized. And there was another ingredient: tension. The future was not guaranteed. The Cold War hung over everything. The possibility of catastrophe existed, but so did the possibility of greatness. Humanity seemed to balance between disaster and triumph. The stakes felt enormous. History felt alive, like the last period of a sports game. It was a decade that loved heroes, not perfect ones, but larger than life ones. People who confronted the unknown, people who acted, people who believed they could change the world. And that optimism permeated the culture. The cowboy became the astronaut, the explorer became the marine, the wilderness became another planet. The same archetypes returned wearing new clothes. Most people do not actually want to return to the 1980s. They want to recover a feeling that tomorrow would be bigger than today, that the future was arriving, like humanity was standing at the beginning of something great. The 1980s remain alive because they captured a moment when the future felt tangible, a moment between the industrial world and the digital world, when technology and culture felt exciting, when frontiers felt endless, when possibility felt limitless. The decade imagined a future you could touch, one of explorers and new worlds. And though much of that future never arrived, the dream remains. The 1980s had great music, great movies, great fashion. But it's not that people miss the 1980s. They miss the feeling that tomorrow was going to be bigger than today.